Give it up for Matt Vancil.
Hello. My name is Matt Vancil. I'm a writer and director from Tacoma. We do have culture there, yes. Though I work primarily in Seattle. I wrote and directed the Gamers movies with Dead Gentlemen, a web series called JourneyQuest that we'll talk about here shortly. And I'm currently working for an independent video game studio in Seattle called Chrome, working on a half game, half television show, though the game designer would say, no, it's just a game. I'd like to thank a couple of men first before we begin. Ben Dobbins, my partner at Zombie Orpheus Entertainment, who helped me in developing the first part of this presentation, which borrows heavily from his presentation on transmedia, and Irfan Chaudhry, the founder of Chromed, for giving me this wonderful opportunity as well. So thank you. And thank you, James, and the film office. So let's get started. First off, part one, why new media? Specifically, the web series, or distributing not through traditional media channels. The thing is, we're going through a phase shift in distribution right now. The old system of traditional distribution is designed to solve old problems that, well, they're old, they're not current in the moment. The physical structure that this required forced it to be as large and as complete as it was, for requiring physical infrastructure, middlemen for sales, vertical integration through the studio system, and mass market advertising. We've all heard that a film cannot be profitable unless it makes 3 times its budget, because you're spending half of the budget, again, on advertising. The thing is, we have new problems faced in distribution now, and the old solutions do not work for them, because old distribution infrastructure is built on the idea of scarcity, of controlling the pipeline of media distribution. Well, the internet does not operate on scarcity, it operates on abundance. Because what is the internet but a machine for making perfect, infinite copies of digital media? Free, infinite copies of our work. Now, it's not something that you can really fight. The more you fight it, the more you treat your consumers like criminals, the more they resent that, and it alienates your fan base. So then the question is, what is the new model? Because this is a new system that we're facing. We definitely need a new model in order to deal with it. The choice is fight what the system is best at, try to fight the fact that the internet is perfect for making infinite free copies of digital media, or embrace it and turn it into a tool and into an asset. The model that Ben developed at Zombie Orpheus, of using the internet as what it is, a gigantic free replication machine, free advertising machine to get your material to the audience that wants to see it. So you just give everything away? Yes, for free. Yes, we give the shows away for free. It does make sense, and it does track logically, and I will explain exactly how that works. But yes, creating media is very expensive, as we are all aware of, no doubt. But the thing is, in the age of relatively free media from a consumer standpoint, being able to copy it or torrent it or download it, we require a new business model because the old one does not work. The old business model, the one that we all entered this industry under, was a business model of selling units. You move a number of units, and that's where your profits come from. That's how you pay for future projects. Thing is, that doesn't work anymore, because the unit can be gotten for free, can be downloaded, torrented, copied for free. So what do you do instead? The new model, instead of trying to move units, which you can still do, but it's not your primary source of income, is to create fans. Create a sustainable fan base that is invested in what you're doing, who you then give the fan token that is the unit to, because they want something they can display and show off and have signed and personalized an autograph and lend. You are no longer in the business of moving units. You are in the business of creating fans. So then where does the money come from? Because I wanted to know this myself when Ben introduced me to the concept. The thing is, about fans want to support what they love. They want to fall in love. They want to feel a part of something larger than themselves. They want to have a connection with the creator of the content. They want to see the content continue. And the key then, to take advantage of this, is to provide opportunities for the fans to do just that, to engage creatively and actively in their loves and passions, basically saying, yes, it's okay, absolutely, come in, play in the world. Given the opportunity to support the objects of their passions, fans always come through. Now, if you remember in the early part of the last decade, a number of shows that died that had very, very vocal, appreciative fan bases, shows like Farscape and Jericho, Veronica Mars, Firefly, the king of them. And each one of those shows had a very active fan movement afterwards to attempt to resurrect the show, trying to, we'll pay for this, we'll support this, bring the show back. If you give it another chance, we will support it. The studios said no. But a lot of media creators paid attention to that movement, that desire to keep the show going after the fact. So the goal then, to create a long-term sustainable fan base that will subscribe or support your projects before they're even made, because they feel connected to them. They feel like they are involved in a community of artists and fans, between which there is no studio, between which there is no middleman. It's just them and the content that they love and they can support. On JourneyQuest, at the end of every episode, we show this logo, which plays on a number of the web series episodes that screen at zombieorpheus.com. Fan-supported, creator-distributed, driven by you. This is our sign, our promise to the fans that any contributions that come in for the show go to continuing the creation of the show. They don't get eaten up into an advertising budget anywhere. They don't get repurposed by a studio or a network. Their dollars directly create more of what they love, which is the relationship that most fans want. So what about piracy? As that's the hot button issue right now in digital and internet media. Yeah, it's almost like I can see what happens beforehand, yeah. The thing is, the pirates are our biggest fans. The pirates are your biggest fans. The reason why most people pirate isn't because they want access to the material, not because they're there to steal it. Piracy in this age is not physically taking something from someone, it's making a copy. An example right now would be Game of Thrones on HBO. Fabulous show, huge, tremendous worldwide fan base, but the only way you can watch it is if you have a full HBO package. It's not out on DVD. You can't see it on Netflix. You can't see it on Hulu. You have to buy a new package. The Oatmeal had a very popular graphic recently making the argument for, embrace this. Show your stuff for free. You have an audience that wants to consume the material, and if you gave them the opportunity, would buy it and support it. But you're holding it back, creating a situation of scarcity when the internet thrives on abundance. And the thing is, when you give something away for free like this, yes, the knee-jerk reaction is, but they would buy it if I didn't. Not necessarily. And no, not every person that sees it for free or pirates it is going to turn around and become a contributor. However, they may share it with someone who does. Every fan, every viewer is an asset because the fans, the true ones, do evangelize because they want to share what they love, they want to see it keep going. Which is why we release everything at Zombie Orpheus under a Creative Commons license, which is also a promise to the fans that says, look, if you download this, if you remix this, if you make a music video based on this, post clips, make ringtones, whatever, we're not going to come after you. In fact, we encourage that. Please do. Go for it. And we've seen that happen after our first season, which was only 7 episodes and about 45 minutes long in total. We saw people make fan art and posters, dubbed episodes in German that we put on our DVD. Someone even animated the first 3 minutes of the first episode, which was awesome, and actually I thought better than what I directed, but I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But you give them the freedom to do that, and suddenly they are invested on a level beyond that of a casual passive viewer, because they're a part of it. So the question then, where do these fans come from? How do you find them? And it's very easy to get discouraged making stuff for the internet because there's such a glut of material out there. It's so easy to be lost in the din. There's too much other media. Most people equate indie with poor quality. You can't compete with Hollywood and their sites and their tie-ins and their mobisodes and whatnot. Most people have low attention spans. They're not interested in getting invested in another show or show that takes a while to set up. That's very true, but there are solutions to these problems. One is to start with, and I say that because Ben and I have been making films together for the last decade, start with or build a strong fan base, the kind of fan base where that is more likely to respond in contributions to keep something going. And part of that is knowing what it is that your audience loves and tailoring your material to that, making a show about what they want to see, listening to them, open it up to them. What do you guys want to see? Pay attention, do the research. And of course, tell an incredible, relevant story that is not going to be dated, that's not going to disappear when the latest meme or fad passes out of the public mind. Write something that has legs. so that when people discover it down the line, they can come back to it and go through your backlog and see a lot more interesting material. So what gives you as indie filmmakers, us as indie filmmakers, an advantage on this front? One of them specifically is we do not have to hit a mass market. You don't have to pander to a 4-quadrant demographic. As Ben is fond of saying, we don't have to sell this horror film to that grandma in North Dakota. You know, you can make the material specifically for the people most likely to jump on it and fall in love with it. You have that ability to build direct relationships with your core audience. And also overlap with other shows, like at Zombie Orpheus again. We have networks within networks. Our fan bases for our shows mingle because it's using the same portal as fans from other shows. Fans discover one another's shows. They say, watch ours, it's cool, you guys should check this out, and the fan base grows. In the 6 months or so that Zombie Orpheus has been live, and this is a website that's still in beta and has not been skinned yet. We have 15 or more shows now screening through us, more coming, and nearly 1,000 registered users watching the material for free and discovering new shows. You also have the ability to do what I call modular storytelling with a web series, which is to make your work live in different formats. I mean, I'm talking about the web series here, which typically is about a 6 to 10 minute episode. But you put a number of those together. If your season is long enough to, say, fill 90, 100 minutes, you can cut that together into a feature that you can then sell the foreign distribution rights to. You can put on a DVD that can play in a film festival. The first season of JourneyQuest is 44 minutes long, 7 episodes. 7 acts of television about the same length could work as a pilot. You have a flexibility that traditional media or, say, traditional distribution outlets do not allow. You don't have to have material that's the length of a half-hour episode of television, an hour-long episode of television, or something to fit a certain degree of how long an average feature film is. Your material can be as long as it needs to be. So does it work? Yes, it has. This is not theoretical. So a bit now about crowdsourcing and building an audience. Is crowdsourcing viable? The idea of taking a bunch of money from different people in contributions. Let's take a look at it, what Kickstarter has done in its brief existence so far, since it's the main fundraising source that people use now. This year alone at Sundance, Kickstarter campaigns were responsible for funding about 10% of the movies that played at Sundance, which is pretty friggin' impressive. Now 3, not 2, but 3, I learned about another one today, 3 Kickstarter projects have crossed the $1 million mark in funding. And Kickstarter campaigns, as a gestalt, are poised to outfund the National Endowment of the Arts. So yes, crowdsourcing is quite viable. And the relationship, though, is different. And treating it with respect is very important. The relationship when you're crowdsourcing is different from when it is when you're raising for traditional investment. Because, again, broadly speaking, traditional investment is financial. For their support, they're expecting an ROI. It is about the money. They really don't necessarily care how you get it. However, fan investment is not financial, it's emotional. They're investing because they love something, and what they expect for their money is to continue to love something and to continue to see it grow. It's about the content, not about the money. However, the relationship is the same. You are under the same obligations in the creation of your media. If you burn your investors, the money dries up and you stop making shows. You burn your fans, the fans go away, the contributions dry up, and you stop making shows. This is very, very important. Kickstarter and other fundraising sites are not an ATM. This is not free money. It is not a grant. It is not an endowment. You must respect the platform and its participants, okay? Look at what you actually are doing. You are asking thousands of strangers for thousands of dollars. They don't owe you anything. You must convince them that you're worth the money. Convince them that the web series that you're going to make, that you want $25 from me, is going to be better than me going to see a couple of movies at the theater over the weekend, because the price is about the same. So how do you do that? Well, we'll get into that. A few don'ts about crowdsourcing. Do not hand wave at your rewards. Put thought and time and effort and, yes, money into what you're offering as rewards. I mean, the way to think of a Kickstarter campaign, you have seen this sort of thing before. NPR did it all the time. PBS. You're offering rewards for contribution. And if they're crap, it's kind of an insult. It's a white elephant gift. It should be something that you want and that is tailored to what it is that you're selling. Do not offload sacrifice onto the contributors. And what I mean with this is the person who needs to be doing the sacrifice, the losing the sleep, and paying the most is you. Why? Because if you successfully crowdsource and sell anything afterwards, $1 is profit. You understand? You don't have to pay that money back. So, don't ask for more than you need to get to that point. There are rewards to be had after you've made the material. Do not ask for finishing funds for a couple of reasons. One, it gets into some strange legal territory, because if you say take an investment to finish a movie and then you're going to go and raise some funds and offer rewards for something you don't necessarily have complete rights to do that with, you get into wonky legal territory. Also, it doesn't send a very good message. If you're asking for money to complete a film that you started with the good faith that you were going to do, in a best case scenario, it gives the impression that you didn't plan properly. And the worst case scenario, it looks like you're holding your own material hostage. It's a no-no. It's best to avoid. And also, don't ask for funds unless you can prove that you deserve them. I have a number of kids I see, they're right out of film school, they have no reel, they have no credits, and they're asking for $50,000, $60,000 to make a feature film that has kind of been hand-waved at why they deserve that. You're telling the story of you. You're selling yourself as much as you're selling the material. So here's some things that you can do to encourage people to contribute to your campaigns. Offer awesome, exclusive, unique rewards. You are front-loading your merchandise here. This is the stuff that you would want to be selling anyway to the people who would be buying it. You're just offering it ahead of time. And you will likely end up with extra versions of these that you can then turn around and sell to people who come and are discover your material later on. The stuff must be worth buying once the campaign is over. You know, this is stuff that, again, don't hand-wave at this stuff. Make it unique and tailored to your material. Fans love this stuff because, again, it's directly supporting what they want to see continue. So if you offer them something that is a limited edition version of something, the only way you can get it is by being one of those true fans who was there at the beginning, supporting the artists as they were making their way. That's a great narrative that they want to buy into. And that's a piece that they want to proudly display and get signed, autographed, show off to people. It's true. You can prove why you deserve to be supported. And on JourneyQuest, we made the first season as an all-volunteer show. And we did not ask for $1 until we had made an entire first season, because we wanted to say, this is what we can do if you support us. It makes a much stronger case. We've hosted on the Zombie Orpheus site a number of the Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaigns from shows that screen with us. And to date, every one of them has been successful, and to date, every one of them has shown ahead of time why they deserve to continue. Standard Action did a 13-episode season of episodes of 10 to 15 minutes each, over 2.5 hours of content before asking for money. Glitch filmed an entire pilot episode that you can see parts of on the site for now, or if you go in at a very low level on their Kickstarter campaign, you can see the entire pilot of anyway. Geek Seekers is a show that could have been raised its money entirely on the celebrity of the people involved, Jen Page and Monty Cook. They didn't. They made a very compelling short that showed off the type of humor and stuff that they would be doing should they be funded. They were all successful as well. When you're building an audience, it is about trust and communication. You want them to trust that if their dollars go to you, they're going to be entertained. They're not going to regret it later on. And as I've mentioned before, what fans want is to invest not just in the artwork, but in the artist. They want to know that their dollars make a difference. And I keep hammering this home, but it's very true. They want to know that their dollars are directly supporting the people making what they love. You build that community, you build that trust, they will trust you and follow you into new projects in case you are deviating from the standard material that you normally do. What you are selling through crowdsourcing is active involvement. You cannot firewall yourself away from your fans and contributors. They want to know about the process and they want to be involved. You give them the opportunity to participate in what they love, and they will build a community around you and around other fans. You must give them accessibility to yourself as a creator of that content, because that's what they crave and want. Don't push them aside. These are the people who are funding your projects. These are your investors. Participation is the foundation of support. Let them participate, even if that's just a dialogue. How are you guys doing this? Spending time in a live chat. Examples of active involvement, forums on your own sites like we have at Zombie Orpheus, live chat discussions, offering behind-the-scenes footage, even snippets here or there, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes long, exclusive content, only for supporters. The only way you can see that is if you contributed to the campaign. Even at $1, that's something special. That's an elite club that they're a part of. Give them potentially the ability to influence canon. We've done this. One of my favorite things that we did in this next season is we have a fictitious language in JourneyQuest. We allowed people to coin words in the language, and a couple hundred of those are actually going to be used in the new season of the show. Those are people directly influencing the world, the canon, the story that's being told. Going on a bit now, I'm going to dovetail into the kind of work that I've done with the video game studio Chromed, continuing on the theme of active involvement and participation in games which actually offer the most potential for active involvement. So you may not think about this, but the video game is the ultimate in active entertainment because it is an active form of entertainment as opposed to a passive form of entertainment. The player, viewer, is in control. And you may not have thought of this, but if you're designing a video game, you are implicitly agreeing to the player of that game, any player, becoming a co-creator of the narrative because that's the person who's essentially directing what's going on. Players will play how they want to play, whether or not it's how you want them to play. Conflict leads to a wonderful little phrase I learned from James Youngman, the game designer, ludonarrative dissonance, which is essentially a conflict between what the game designer intends to be the story of the game and what the player creates based on what the player can do. And if you block that or stymie that, you risk frustrating the players and the players not having a good time and going on to something else. So what we're doing at Chromed that incorporates a lot of what I've been talking about here is to creating a new type of media that is a hybrid video game and television show, basically a playable television show that marries elements of gameplay and narrative using a lot of the techniques that we've talked about. The game is called March 32nd and is basically a 12-episode graphic adventure game with a branching narrative. A game that is, you could say, directed by the player. And it's more than just a matter of, choose which clips are played next. It is the player has control of the main character as that character interacts with the world, its objects, the people that populate it. And because it has a branching narrative and multiple paths through it, no one's experience in the game is the same. It basically tailors itself based on the player's choices. And in doing so, each episode and the whole game as a whole can create thematic endings and consequences based on the choices the players have made. So the game pays attention, says, you as the detective are very focused on the job right now. You as the detective are being kind of a dick to other people in the world. We're going to remember that. And based on how you play, it will either remove or present new scenarios for you as you continue through, learning how you like to play, what it is that you like, and then giving you more of that. So it's essentially half of a game and half a show. And it does have literally thousands of iterations of each episode, which everyone experiencing their own version of the game, and though there are a finite number of endings because it can't be otherwise, there are infinitely, well, not really, but it sounds good to say that, an infinite number of ways to reach those endings. So how does it work? Because something like this would be cripplingly production heavy under normal circumstances. We shoot our actors in front of a green screen studio. The camera and the editing software, the program, turns them into chromatic silhouettes. The backgrounds of the game are enhanced photographs that make up the virtual world of the game. And the game engine then sews the silhouettes and the backgrounds together into a unique art style. Here's an example of what the game looks like, the before and the after picture. And here's an effect of when you sew that all together, it looks like in total.
You gonna behave yourself this time? All right. What'll it be?
Hey, handsome. Got a light? Good for what ails you.
Hey, read the sign. So, how you doing?
That was the gameplay trailer from PAX 2011. Thank you. Hey. Now restoring.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I understand that you get to hear their voices,
Mm-hmm.
but if the actors just get turned into colored silhouettes, what's the appeal for them to do this?
It's work. You don't. It's essentially the same as animation there. But they're actually acting live. It's an interesting combination. Sure. So what this style of filmmaking offers is very rapid and efficient production for a couple of reasons. The way that the green screen is working is it's not keying off of color. It's keying off of pixels. So the reason it has that very smooth silhouetted look is the computer is flagging every difference in the background on a pixel by pixel basis, which minimizes the lighting package and makes it a lot less expensive to film in front of a green screen, and you don't need a huge green screen. We have a lot of reusable animations, what we call movement cycles. The ability for the main character, here's a thing. We never have to shoot the detective walking to or from anywhere, because we've shot all that previously on a treadmill. The detective from every angle and every position and every shot, walking, running, limping, gliding, strutting, anything that you would need there. So that what we can focus on for unique animations is just dialogue and unique action. Now what that allows is for an incredibly rapid amount of pages that you can rip through, which you need, because every one of these episodes, playtime-wise, lasts about 60 to 90 minutes. And you're not seeing everything, every option on the table there. Our pilot episode was 250-some pages long. Yeah. But we can burn through quite a few pages a day because we're shooting minimal animations because of what already exists in the library. And the end result of this is this new kind of entertainment that is offering customizable gameplay viewing experiences. It's the same game, different for every single individual viewer and player that has, because of this, sort of a perpetual replay and rewatch value, and it gives us, the virtual world is so easy to add material to. It allows us as a company to reactively add or delete elements from episodes that aren't working. So if you pay attention to the fan forums and I really like this character, I hope they bring more of him back, or I wonder if this connection is going to pay off later on, that's stuff that we have the ability to act on in a timely manner, which is pretty cool. And the game itself has its own built-in distribution network, and it costs a fraction of what an actual television episode would cost in production value. Sorry, in actual production costs. The production value is very high. So conclusions, what we take from all of this, new media, crowdsourcing, video games, active involvement with fans, is value is not about the bottom line. It is about the quality of the relationships that you're building with the fans, your supporters, learning them, training them to support this type of media. And the best way to build that sort of relationship is to empower the fans, to give them permission, create an atmosphere of permission to play in your world and to be active in your community. And fans will, and they've proven this, go to the ends of the earth to keep what they love alive. So what we're doing both with JourneyQuest and with March 32nd that we could not do anywhere but the internet is offer direct distribution to the fan base, bypassing any studio or network or other middleman that would charge people, any gatekeeper, for access to the content. Every episode of JourneyQuest ends with the following tag: no studio, no network, no cancellations. It is entirely about the show for both of these, unlike a lot of things on the internet where the fan is not the customer but the product being sold to an advertising agency collecting demographic information. It is possible to have a show where everything is just about the show. And anyway, thanks very much to Zombie Orpheus Entertainment and Chromed for helping me prepare this presentation, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Never.